Hey, life up, bitch.
Hey, how you doing, chillers?
Hey, I can't figure out which one of you looks the most like my dick.
It's me again,
You're nobody.
with another edition of Vast Fire's Back, Episode 3.
She rates a 3 on my finger scale.
And who is it I have in my sights?
Don't tell anyone.
Well, it's me.
What? Pope's the lamest fucking plan I ever heard!
And this is somewhat of a departure from the usual videos I do, and that's cause this is mainly for my own benefit. An act of contrition, if you will, that I want on record.
It's okay. It's okay.
So recently, two things happened almost at once. I did a watch party on Video TSD's channel of my all-time favourite Bruce Willis film, The Last Boy Scout.
If you touch me again, I'll kill you.
Absolutely brilliant film.
Bomba, baby!
We got a 2 for 2. Told you.
Thank you, Gareth, for inviting me. I had a blast as always. You guys should check it out, the film and the watch party. I will leave a link down in the description to that video. Well, it got me in a nostalgic kind of mood about the fondness I had for Bruce Willis.
I like Prince.
And in particular, action hero Bruce Willis.
This ain't no game, Flash. Real guns, real bullets. It's dangerous.
Danger's my middle name.
Mine's Cornelius. If you tell anybody, I kill you.
Back in the day, the guy was just the epitome of cool to me. I wanted to be like him, style myself like him. I quote lines from his films. I still quote lines from those same films. And it wasn't just me. I remember my dear friend Peter, who I've just reconnected with after many years. A massive shout out and respect to Pete. He was the same, and I recall him having Brucey's pork pie hat from Hudson Hawk. You remember that, right? Over the years, my relationship with Bruce has been pretty rocky overall. Well, the other thing that happened was the announcement that Bruce Willis was stepping back from acting, essentially retiring, and that he had been diagnosed with aphasia.
Life is pain, Jim.
Hey, what the
Which is like a language disorder caused by a type of brain damage that affects a person's ability to communicate. This super sad news sheds a new light on his career of late, and the reason for Bruce seemingly sleepwalking his way through an endless amount of just dog shit films.
Shut the fuck up.
I was also left wondering how long ago his illness started, because there's a vast catalogue of bad movies and lackluster performances going back at least a decade. I felt like I should have known something was up. How could someone's persona change that much? I remember how zany and screwball he was in Moonlighting and Blind Date, and he brought that fast, snappy, overlapping dialogue into his early film career. The dude was just so awesome and funny and dynamic, and now his effort and energy level, it just seems so low. Even the few more high profile movies he has done in just the last few years, like Death Wish and Glass, before they were released you'd be like, oh, Brucey's back baby, he's gonna bring it, I know it. But ultimately his performance would have little or no spark. Nick Cage has had a similar career trajectory, but no matter how bad the film, you could at least derive some fun from Cage's performance. I mentioned it only in passing, but the old classic Nick Cage has finally returned in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I highly recommend that film. But with Brucey, it just didn't make sense. He seemed to be wholly disinterested in his own career. I used to joke Bruce was like Samson from the Old Testament, and when he completely lost his hair, he just lost his mojo. In the light of this news, I feel super bad now for some of the uncharitable things I've said about Bruce and his career in the last few years. I wish I could take those things back, but all I can do is say sorry.
Sorry, I was so bitchy before.
The only caveat being Die Hard 5, which is just a travesty of a John McClane film and completely unforgivable. Dear God, Bruce, why? Just why? The thing is though, I flippin' love Bruce Willis. He used to be my favourite actor along with Denzel back in the early 90s. Really. Incidentally, that pretty much ended in 1998 for both actors when they teamed up together for a racist piece of crap film called The Siege. But I'll leave that aside. For sure though, he was my guy when it came to action heroes. Not Sly, not Arnie, not Van Damme, not Mel. It was always Bruce. He was just cooler than those guys to me. He was the man. And for me, that number one spot was cemented on the back of just a few pure action films. The first few Die Hard and The Last Boy Scout. And also sticking Hudson Hawk in there, but that's just for Willis's performance and not the film itself. Still, in these films, Bruce elevated the action genre past just the cheesy one-liners, which I love, don't get me wrong, and still do. But his movies had that high-octane, violent, balls to the walls, big action. Bruce also brought the classic wisecracking, super cool, hard as nails but flawed character performance. You know, films where he cracks that smile on just one side of his face.
And then some.
Movies where he's just the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the dude would get absolutely battered in these movies, but he was just unflappable. These were pure guy films, and Brucey just felt a bit more fresh and hip than the other action heroes, and he's so flipping funny.
For your information, a lot of people think I'm very funny.
My favourite action subgenre is the buddy film, because when it's done well, you get more than just the action. You're in for an engaging, funny and wildly entertaining ride. And for me, The Last Boy Scout is the quintessential buddy flick, and it's funnier than 95% of comedy films out there, no question. You know, Mel Gibson had a similar vibe to Bruce, but he had to act all manic and crazy to achieve it. I'm not knocking Mel though, the man is just class, and in my eyes he's the best all-around actor who's had a career as an action hero. But let me tell you, no one looks as badass holding or shooting a firearm than Brucey.
Okay, come on, Jimmy. Think. What would Joe do? He'd shoot everybody and smoke some cigarettes.
You got a cigarette? So am I low life. Bitch.
Anyway, as the years went on, I felt Bruce kind of turned his back on his pure action roots. I understand an actor wants to broaden his range and make different types of films, but regardless of the actual quality of those films, what began to happen was he became less and less like my Bruce. His name above the title of a new film just lost its excitement, and often, even if the film was good, he wasn't even the best thing in the film. Look, I think Sixth Sense is aces, but it's not because of Bruce Willis. Personally, I am just not a fan of that restrained, stone-faced, monotoned, quiet performance he gives in Sixth Sense and a lot of his other movies. I want to see that energy, that Bruce Willis charm, the action, the fun, the magic. I had a plan to do like a top 10 of my favourite Bruce Willis films, but to be honest, those last 3 spots from 8 to 10, I was kind of struggling to fill those places, and there's like 4 Die Hards in there, so in the end it just felt a bit redundant. But here, check this out. In my opinion, this is the best of Bruce Willis. 0 surprises, I know. Die Hard 4. This is a very worthy final entry in the Die Hard franchise. It's action-packed and fun, and Bruce eventually manages to slip into his John McClane persona when the action kicks off. Though it's not quite at the calibre of the previous Die Hards. Pulp Fiction. Absolutely brilliant film. Bruce is ace in his role as an aging boxer, but let's be real, the best parts are played by John Travolta and Sam Jackson. but Bruce does hold his own in a pivotal role. Die Hard 1, 2 and 3. I've put all these together because this is classic John McClane awesomeness. I think in 1 and 2 Bruce's performances is very similar, and his circumstances and the style of the film is very different in the third, but Bruce is effortless as John McClane, a role he was born to play. He's not a typical action hero. The character is very down to earth. McClane is thrown into these crazy life or death situations which he seems to just survive by just the skin of his teeth. It's very different from the other muscle bound action heroes where, to be honest, you never feel like they are in true jeopardy. But Bruce is the man at his wisecracking, ass kicking, wrapping a hose around his waist and jumping off a skyscraper, strapping himself into a plane strewn with grenades and ejecting as they blow up. Truck surfing best. And what could possibly beat Bruce as indestructible super cop John McClane? Bruce Willis's best performance in his role as Private Detective Joe Hallenbeck in the phenomenal, amazing, outstanding 1991 action film written by Shane Black and directed by Tony Scott. It's The Last Boy Scout. This is my favourite Bruce film. Not his best, but the one I enjoy the most. And Bruce has never been better in my opinion. His character is so flipping cool.
You think you're so fucking cool, don't you? You think you're so fucking cool. Well, just once, I would like to hear you scream in pain.
Play some rap music.
He's very flawed, down on his luck.
Nobody likes you. Everybody hates you. You're gonna lose. Smile, you fuck.
But Bruce manages to give a wildly entertaining, funny, cool, badass performance that resonates massively with me, as does the film as a whole. So that, folks, is what I got here in my hand. Pure gold. And Bruce Willis was essential to that alchemy. And that's easily enough for me.
And then some.
A stellar legacy in my opinion. The amount of joy this bundle of cracking Bruce Willis movies has given me is absolutely priceless, and that makes Bruce Willis an acting legend in my book, and I say thank you, kind sir. And that's really all I wanted to say. Even if you think Bruce Willis isn't the best action hero, come on, he was definitely the coolest. And that's going to be it from me. I will catch you the next time round, and until next time, I will see you later. Take care, chillers. So long.
Ha 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 ha!